I am 94 years old, and I do not have many evenings left. When you reach this age, people expect you to whisper sweet comforts. They expect you to say that family is everything, that loyalty is sacred, that if you simply trust those who love you, your life will unfold safely. But I have buried too many friends to keep repeating that story. Last winter, my grandson Daniel sat beside my bed. He is 25. His shoulders were slumped, as if he had been carrying something far heavier than his years. He told me he was tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that settles into your bones when you are living for everyone except yourself. He said he was working a job he hated, staying in a city he never chose, chasing a life that would make us proud. I looked at him for a long time, and I said something that made him cry harder. I told him to stop sacrificing himself for us, because the greatest wounds of my life did not come from strangers. They came from love mixed with fear. When you are young, the world feels like a storm. There are expectations, bills, decisions that seem permanent. So you look for a map, and the easiest place to search is in the hands of the people who raised you. You believe that love equals wisdom, that shared blood means shared destiny. At 26, I wanted to leave everything behind and travel across Europe. I wanted to write stories. I wanted to see who I was outside of the narrow streets where I grew up. My father, Robert, was a decent man. He worked long hours at the factory. His hands were cracked from cold steel and winter air. One night he sat me down at the kitchen table and told me to accept the position at the insurance office. He said stability was more important than passion. He said dreams do not pay mortgages. He was not cruel. He was afraid. And because I loved him, I trusted him. I folded my dreams carefully like old letters and placed them in a drawer. I wore the suit. I signed the contracts. I built the safe life he believed would protect me. It took me 3 decades to understand what had happened. My father was not guiding me toward my future. He was shielding me from his past. He had grown up with hunger. He feared poverty more than unhappiness. When he looked at me, he did not see my potential. He saw his own childhood returning. This is the quiet trap. The people who love you most will often advise you from their scars, not from your possibilities. Your mother might urge you to choose a partner who feels secure because she once felt abandoned. Your sister may laugh at your business idea because she never dared to risk her own comfort. They mean well, they truly do. But love does not automatically grant clear vision. Let me pause here because this is important. If you continue walking through life believing that the loudest, loving voice is the wisest voice, you may wake up one day in a bed like mine, wondering where your own voice disappeared. In my late 40s, another illusion broke. My closest friend, Thomas, whom I had known since childhood, made a decision that harmed me deeply, not for money, not out of hatred, but to protect his own reputation. He spoke poorly of me in a room where I was not present. I was furious. I felt betrayed. I had trusted him with my secrets. I believed our loyalty was unshakable. I remember standing by a hospital window during that time, watching the rain slide down the glass. and a realization settled into me. Thomas was not a villain. He was a frightened man trying to survive his own pressures. We expect our friends to be unwavering pillars. We expect our spouses to understand us without explanation. We expect our families to stand immovable against every storm. But they are human. They get tired. They feel insecure. They make selfish choices when cornered. The problem was not only what Thomas did. The problem was that I had placed my emotional safety entirely in his hands. When you hand someone else the responsibility for your peace, you give them a weight they cannot carry. This is where maturity begins. You must understand that you truly own only one thing in this life, your mind. Everything else is temporary. Your reputation can shift overnight. Your relationships can change with a single conversation. Health can fade quietly. If your happiness depends on your parents' approval, you will feel anxious whenever they frown. If your sense of worth depends on your partner's constant affection, you will tremble at every silence. It took me many years to stop expecting other people to be my compass. And strangely, when I stopped demanding perfection from them, I began to love them more gently. Love does not equal competence. Someone can adore you and still give you advice that leads you far from yourself. Affection is an emotion. Wisdom is a skill. They do not always live in the same person. Trust should not be blind. It should be thoughtful. Listen to advice, yes. Consider it carefully. But before you build your life around someone else's opinion, ask yourself one quiet question. Have they walked the road I am about to take? If not, their love may comfort you, but it cannot guide you. There is another truth that younger people rarely see. People change. The woman you marry at 30 will not be the same at 50. The friend you trust today will carry different fears and ambitions in 10 years. Life shapes us. Success can harden someone. Loss can soften another. Illness can transform priorities overnight. When you anchor your entire identity to a person remaining exactly as they are, you are tying yourself to something that is already moving. Instead, trust in your ability to adapt. Trust that even if others shift, you can remain steady inside. I learned to build what I now call my inner room. It is a quiet place in my mind where I sit with my thoughts before acting. A place where I ask myself what aligns with my values, not with someone else's fear. Each time I made a decision that felt true to me, even if it disappointed someone, that inner room grew stronger. Each time I faced my anxiety without immediately seeking reassurance, I became less fragile. This does not mean becoming cold or distant. I still love my family deeply. I forgave my father long ago. I understood that his advice came from love shaped by hardship. I forgave Thomas too. He was navigating his own insecurities. But forgiveness does not require surrendering your steering wheel. At 94, when I sit alone in the quiet of the evening, I do not regret loving people. I regret the years I abandoned myself to keep others comfortable. You have one life. It is not long, even if it feels that way now. Do not live it as a performance for an audience that will eventually leave the theater. Love your family. Share meals. Laugh loudly. Hold their hands when they are frightened. But when it comes time to choose your path, step into your own inner room, close the door, listen to the steady voice beneath the noise. Let advice inform you, but let your own conscience decide. If you build your peace inside yourself, no betrayal will shatter you, no criticism will define you, no disappointment will erase you. You will still feel pain. That is part of being alive, but you will not feel lost. When my time comes, I want Daniel to stand beside his own bed one day, not with regret, but with quiet satisfaction. I want him to say that he lived according to his values, not according to our fears. That is all any old man can truly wish for the young. Trust wisely, love deeply, but never abandon the only mind you will live in until your final breath. Time moves faster than you think.